Hi, this is Kristen here. Welcome to another process video. And today I am working on a layout for Grit and Grace. That's by Traci Reed, and it's the newest collection out. And there'll be others playing along on YouTube. I will include the information down below. And here are the products that I'm using. So some journal cards, the papers, as well as the stickers. And I don't think any of the journal cards end up making it on this layout. And so I started off, I had this striped paper, and I decided to cut out strips, all the strips from it, because I was going to go with like a tone-on-tone layout, and I wanted all the colors to be side by side. And then I'm using a stencil. I don't know where I got the stencil from. It might be an Echo Park one, or maybe a Simple Stories. And so I'm just going to ink up some white cardstock here, trying to closely match the colors of the collection as much as possible. So I'm using some Distress ink, some 49 Market inks, and just kind of mixing and matching. Honestly, kind of as I was doing this, I wasn't really writing down what colors I was using. I know I use Distress ink, one of the purple ones. I don't recall the color. I think most of the 49 Market ones I used were Salted Caramel, I think Off the Rails, Arctic Blitz, maybe Strawberry Pie, and that's really all the ones I can really think of. I also used a Distress ink. I think it was Scattered Straw. So I'm just doing this side in different colors, just kind of going down kind of a rainbow gradient, I guess, to an extent. And so I just moved the stencil down a little bit so I can keep working down the page. And again, I didn't have the exact colors as in the collection, but you know, fairly close ones. I really tried to keep it as close as possible. I think this color is Pink Sands, and that's a 49 Market, which is kind of like a light pink. So I'll include the information down below for who else is playing along with the hop, and then also a link down below so you could go check out this collection as well as others. There's a ton on her website. Of course, this is printable or digital, so you won't get, if you order anything from the site, you won't actually get, you know, like a mailed version. It's all downloadable, so you print and cut them off yourself. So you can either fussy cut them, or you could use your Cricut or Silhouette. Traci has a lot of kind of tutorials and information so that you can, you know, see how, I mean, it's really an easy process if you've ever worked with a Cricut or a Silhouette before. And so I'm going to start lining up these strips and just kind of going in a color gradient here. Just adding glue to it. This did take quite a while to cut all those strips out, but it was nice because I kind of just sat with my family and, you know, while we were watching movies and having a fire, and just kind of worked on cutting them. So it was kind of, I mean, it was kind of nice. A lot of time, that's the time to do kind of this, you know, kind of busy, tedious work, is when you're just hanging out with your family. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of this process, and I will cut away from this because this did kind of take a little bit of time. Okay, and so went ahead and got all of the strips adhered down, and then I'm just going to do a tone on tone. So I'm picking out the hearts, anything in the collection that kind of had, I could work with these strips in the same color you know, that made sense for the picture I was going to document. So I was just going and matching, and I didn't have enough strips. I could have, I guess, you know, cut more out, but I was okay with having that gap there, because you'll see here in a moment, that's where I end up putting my title. So it was kind of nice, because then that kind of put the emphasis on the title. I didn't have the strips kind of behind it to kind of distract away from the title. So I initially liked that as my title, but I wanted a little bit longer title just to fill out that area. So I find this title, and it says, "There is always a reason for gratitude." So there's like a lot of these little wordy pieces that are kind of arrows / banners, and they all kind of made sense with the picture I was going to do. So I went ahead and kind of got these all matched up as much as I could. I think there was one at the bottom, maybe I didn't have a color for it, but I do end up putting kind of like a, almost like a journal spot. So I'll probably put the date and kind of just like a little description. I'm not a huge journaler, so I feel like as long as I've got kind of the date, time, and where we were at, that's kind of good enough for me, because I feel like a lot of time my pictures really kind of do a lot of the explaining for me. So I will flip this "Love This Family" up by the gratitude title. So that's kind of that piece there. I didn't have like a lighter piece to match with that. So I'll move this, shift this up, move that over, and then I don't know if I end up putting that heart piece back on there. I think I do. Yeah. Because I did want to have a little spot there where I could, you know, write the date. And then I'm going to put some flower pieces kind of scattered. I don't do the same color flower on for every strip, just because they're, you know, some of the lighter ones were more leaves without the flowers. And so I just left those areas alone where I didn't have the same color flower to work on the strips. And again, I didn't want to overload this section. I still wanted you to be able to see the strips, and, you know, but add a little bit more to it without, you know, kind of overwhelming it, I guess. And then I'm going to go ahead and back the photograph with a couple of the different papers from this collection. So this is kind of almost like, I don't know, like an orangey color, but more with like a little bit more of a brown undertone. And then I like the little floral pieces, the floral paper, so I end up backing it with that floral paper. So essentially double mounting it. I'm trying to decide what I wanted over here. I really didn't want to put too much on this side to take away from the hearts over here. And I was kind of bummed I did have to cover up some of the hearts. I guess, I don't know, I could have shifted the photo more in the center, but then I felt like then it would have, you know, covered up the strips, and the title wouldn't have really been in a good spot. So I was really trying not to cover up too many more of the hearts. And then I find these little circle pieces that have like little sayings in it, you know, kind of like positive reinforcement, like finding your joy, keeping your faith. And then that little banner piece underneath the photograph says, "My heart needed this." And then this piece says, "Grateful Hearts." And I kind of like it layered up there because I feel like that adds a little bit of something to the picture without taking too much away from those hearts. And then I ended up adding this little, this big circular piece that's happy heart. And here is a close-up look at it with a couple close-up shots. I really appreciate you for coming by to watch another process video.